I find that sometimes in sports, a team's success could be disrespected by a simple expression that some may think is motivating, it's encouraging, it's something to strive for. But with the proper tone, it could sound like a dick move. And that term is, could you do it again? In all sports, it's the ultimate thing. From heck, dancers, engineers, doctors, pilots. Could you do it again? And it's one of those things where you can't help but feel like, I will try, which is an honest answer. You sell yourself up for success, but also don't put yourself such on a high pedestal, you might trip and fall. But we all know that when people say that, it's meant to be a dick move. It's meant to be insulting. So, hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. We're continuing the 2026 NFL Draft recap. We're in the NFC South, and we're going to talk today about the Carolina Panthers, the division-winning Carolina Panthers. And because I'm a dick, Carolina, could you do it again? Let's talk about the Panthers draft class and see, is it going to help? I think Carolina's season last year was a success more on the potential of Young's development and, probably the acquisition of Offensive Rookie of the Year in McMillan. Now, we all know that sophomore slump is the thing that people put out there for people that want to be haters. But the Panthers season with all that felt very much like the record. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And to Carolina Panther fans out there, do you guys feel solidified with Dave Canales as head coach? Like, who do you feel more secure? Dave Canales, head coach? Bryce Young, quarterback? I mean, Bryce Young did show a moment where it's like, that's the first overall pick. And then there's somebody like, and that was the supposedly first overall pick. I don't know which Panther team, but trust me when I say, as a Buccaneer fan, I prefer this Carolina quarterback than the Cam Newton quarterback you guys had. He was dangerous. Bryce Young could be dangerous, but Cam had that authority type of intimidation. Bryce Young has that quiet intimidation. It's like, you sleep on him, he'll smack you in the mouth. I feel like the Panthers took a step forward last year, but I can't help how much of it was because the division sucked and the Buccaneers sank. So this year is the year to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, and that you scaring the Rams in the playoff is a sign of things to come. Now, personally, I give the Saints as the most intimidating team in the South that no one's talking about but me. Which we're talking about the Saints, we're talking about the Saints. But right now, Carolina won the division. The floor is yours. What do you need to do to, I guess, solidify your throne? Because I guarantee you, they're gunning, and that door is very, very thin. They'll break it right down and get right to that division throne. So, like any good team with a quarterback that's young, fragile, small, petite, young, naive, gotta protect him. And I feel like to do that, you need to get insurance. So, with the 19th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle, Georgia. Now, my concern was wondering, was he the best of what was left, or the best that fits your scheme? because we have seen very multiple times the top tier of any position not be what you're looking for, but that team that picks the fourth or fifth best option earlier turned out to be the better one. It happens. It's a miracle of life. So, but I can't help but feel like whatever you decide to do with Young, which I feel like Young is probably more on the ledge than Baker Mayfield in Tampa. Because I feel like even if Baker have a bad year, it's going to be that case of we might not suck too bad to get a top 10 quarterback, so what are our options? While Young, if he falls apart, I believe since you have a first place schedule now, Carolina, you could be probably pushed into that top 10 pick range if things really go south. But addressing the offensive lineman is smart. Even though you currently have Monroe as the backup to Ikema on the left tackle side, but you are addressing the left tackle's potential future, as Ika is 25 years old, and he was your first round pick back in 2022. So my concern is it because you guys are concerned for his health, or you're concerned for his playability? Or are you going to move Monroe really to right tackle, which I have you here as the backup to Taylor Monto on the right tackle, who was 31 years old, who was also a Carolina Panther pick in 2017, second round, 64th overall. So I guess you are literally hedging your bets on the Monroe pick. Would he play this year? I believe that injuries and play eventually becomes a factor. But this is clearly meant to feel like I feel the Panthers are probably more 60-40, 70-30. They want to sign Bryce Young back, but they're not going to break the freaking Bank of America bank for him. But this is a good investment for the future, and I think it's a solid pickup for any team with a young quarterback. We want to make sure for the next 10 years we have a solid, young, talented, offensive tackle, especially on the right or left side. Then we go to the second round with the 49th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers selected Lee Hunter, defensive tackle, Texas Tech. Now, Robinson, who was a valuable defensive tackle, went to Tampa. Traitors, they all are. It doesn't mean that I feel like this was it, but I feel that when 2 years ago, when Derek Brown got injured, it felt like the Panthers defense dropped like 10 rankings. He was such a disruptor. He was such a force. But when he went down, the whole thing fell apart. Now they do run a 3-4 defense. Are they going to put Lee Hunter 6'3", 318? I think that's nose tackle position. And yep, they have him currently behind Bobby Brown III in the interior nose tackle department. And Bobby Brown is 25 years old, so he's still a very young man for the league. He was a 4th round pick by the Rams back in 2021. So my guess is rotation. 3-4 defense nose guard are meant to probably block the gaps, take on 2 blockers, and mainly at times make a pile. Or as my defensive lineman coach would say, grab grass and make a pile. Just grab the grass and just make it hard for the guards to move, pulling guard, whatever, and make everyone swarm to you. And I feel like that's what they want Hunter to do. Texas Tech defense had a resurgence of success this last year in college football, so I'm sure a lot of teams are very anxious to get pieces of that Red Raider defense that was so successful last year to the playoffs, and see if they can find the right pieces to fit their scheme to make their defense whole. Hunter, I feel like, is a smart acquisition, and the best thing about it is that they'll use him in rotation, and he'll learn, and we'll see what the future holds. But I feel like for the Panthers, they still have very young core defensive players. Maybe not the star players like the Luke Kuechly days, but I feel like they have a good, solid core development, and I think they'll be like the quiet defense of success. Or not. Then we go to the 3rd round with the 83rd overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers selected Chris Brazzell II, wide receiver, Tennessee. This was the player I didn't want the Panthers to get. I don't want to give Bryce Young new toys. And then I see they got Chris Brazil. Brazil. I feel he is the ultimate. I think he's a number 2, but I feel like they put him as a number 3. But I feel like Chris is a solid number 2 in the right system. I really believe that. And a lot of this probably, honestly, is on the pressure of their first round pick 2 years ago in Xavier. Coker blew up last year. McMillan, Offense Rookie of the Year. Xavier is the one player where I feel like you were picked before them, and you were probably the 3rd best. Yeah, I mean, they got Jimmy Horn too, but I feel like Brazil is going to be. I would not be surprised within the first month, maybe by the 6th game, Brazil is in the 3rd. He's in the 3rd position. Maybe get rotation in the 2nd, but I'm feeling very calm that Chris Brazil is a number 2 receiver, not number 1, but a solid number 2, and he will show it this year, and that's what scares me about him. Yes, Coker had a great year. Xavier has moments, but I'm telling you, Brazil has something there that he's going to be the solid number 2. Heck, he might even get more targets than McMillan, because McMillan will take the number 1 receiving targets. But I'm telling you, this is the Panthers like, ha 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 ha, look what I found. Everyone else is like, why did you let him? You thought they were not going to get another wide receiver. I feel like they're going to get another wide receiver because, like I said, Xavier, I don't know. Panther fans, tell me how you feel. I feel like Coker was more of the second go-to guy behind their number 1 receiver who they drafted. So to me, I feel like this is a good pickup for the Panthers. And so far, everything has been invested into Bryce Young's potential future after this year. As long as he doesn't screw it up himself. Protection, new toys, solidifying the defense, so you're going to carry the load. It's all you. Just can't screw it up, Young, okay? Then we go to the 4th round with the 129th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers selected Will Lee III, cornerback, Texas A&M. A young man, or young person, I assume they're young, I don't remember, acknowledged to me about, Horn and the success of the South Carolina defensive back. Forgive me, but I forgot about him mainly because he's a division rival, and I don't want to give division rivals too much credit, because then I feel scared on my team. But anyway, I agree with you. Horn was probably one of the better defensive players for the Carolina Panthers, and I believe he got his paycheck that rightfully deserved. So, in the situation where you have one good corner and the rest just kind of follow, maybe this acquisition was meant to be as, well, if nobody else wants to develop, we will develop a brand new prospect. And they currently have Will Lee as the 3rd string behind Mike Jackson and Caleb Evans. Now, secondary, due to injuries and just scheme personnel, we'll have time to develop him. He'll probably make his mark on special teams. But I can't help but feel like that besides Horn, everyone else follows. So, if it doesn't work out this year, we'll have time for Mike Lee III to develop into something potentially. And who knows? Maybe they might move him in earlier. You know how the situation goes. Injuries, lack of playing time. Sometimes just getting beat on a scheme or 2 might be like, take a break. Let's put him in. But I feel like Will Lee, not Mike Lee, wrong guy. Will Lee will have time to develop, and we'll probably see a lot of splashes in preseason because, like I said, starters very rarely at any play a series anymore. So Will Lee will have plenty of opportunities to get his feet wet and get ready for the regular season. He'll probably make his mark on special teams, but that doesn't mean down the line, situation happen. He might get a package or 2. I feel like this is another solidification of the defense secondary. Then we go to the 5th round with the 144th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers selected Sam Hatch, I say corner, center, Kansas State University. Are they going to keep you, young man, at center? Uh, Quarterback's best friend is the center and the tight end, because the center helps communicate, cadence and timing with the snap, and he'll help protect the quarterback by identifying protection schemes. And the tight end are helpful because they're a big body guy with arms, and more than likely they don't go too far from the quarterback. So, where do they have you, my friend? Looks like they have you still behind Luke Fortner, who is the starting center, who is reaching that dreaded age of late 20s. He's 28. And it looks like he just turned 28. So he has time to develop, time to motivate. Will they move him? No, I don't think so. But will they move? I'm trying to see. Will they turn him? Will they put him into a different position? No, it looks like they still have him solidify as a center. I mean, they explain about good as, mechanics, good footwork, good base, strong anchor. But I feel like this is investment for it. Plus, he's the second best center. And we all know that sometimes a bad center can affect the entire offensive lineman chemistry. So we'll see what happens with the current Luke, who's the current center right now. But I feel like this feels like it's for the future. We'll see how much Luke has in the tank at 28, 29. But Sam feels like he is meant to be the heir. And if it's happened to be protecting Bryce Young, all the better for him to develop now, so Young doesn't have to go through that growth spurt of learning in between off seasons. Then we go to, still in the 5th round, 7 picks later, with the 151st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Zakee Wheatley, safety, Penn State. Carolina Panthers secondary. Like I said, besides Horn, safety was one of the top needs according to ESPN.com. But then my thought is, why they wait so long to address it? Now, the Panthers did went on a spending spree and got a lot of defensive players to help build that defense. One of their defensive players, who surprisingly was one of the leading tacklers, is now a Buccaneer. Thank you. Traitors, we all are. But, they got Devin Lloyd. Nick Scranton was a good acquisition last year. He played well. They got Phillips from free agency, who was a trade from Miami to Philadelphia and then back over to him. So Carolina wasted no time developing their defense, especially the front 7. So I don't know. It felt like if there was a safety was one of their biggest needs. Why did they wait so long to get it? I mean, if I really want to evaluate the entire safety department and go line by line by myself, it's clearly not a no-life type of situation. But Carolina Panther fans, you tell me more because you guys live in the state and you guys, bleed the black and blue, or powder blue, light blue, or the color is blue for me. But I don't know. I feel like the front 7 was so solidified that maybe you guys took a say, hey, the front 7 solidified. Free agency and then rookies from last year. Maybe we can address the other needs and then we come back to safety at the end. I don't know. But I'm feeling confident, and they currently have Wheatley behind Trevon at the strong safety position. So even though he was a late round pick on the need list, they still have him as the potential backup. Trevon is currently 27 years old, so obviously looking at a potential future, and we'll see where that goes. And just wait and see. Wait and see development. I'm fine with that. And then we go to the 7th round, their last pick, with a 227th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Carolina Panthers selected Jackson Kuat, linebacker, Miami of Ohio. Kuat. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But if not, I feel like that's the sound His last name is a sound you hear when linebackers light up a wide receiver on a crossing route. What? What? So, where they have you, my friend? They currently have you in the inside left side linebacker behind Devin Lloyd and Claudian Claris, who 27 years old, really active. Okay. And of course, Devin Lloyd is the big acquisition you guys picked up from a very successful time in Jacksonville. I'm just surprised the Jaguars didn't sign him back, but not my problem. But looking at your new potential inside linebacker, let me take a look at his intangibles here. 6'4", 235. Wow. Wow, that's intangibles seem pretty good. He started his career at Ohio State, and after 2 seasons, then he became a full-time starter at Miami, Ohio. Sometimes, as athletes, we have to go to a place that gives us opportunity. He still got drafted. I mean, for all he knows, he probably would have rolled the bench and probably never would have been drafted. At least here in Miami, Ohio, and didn't go that far from Columbus, Ohio, to Ohio State Buckeyes, but still got opportunity to play, proved his worth. He was a full-time starter, development. So we'll see how quickly he can do. It's probably still kind of raw, but 6'4", 235. His grades and position rank are not the greatest, but I'm gonna say he didn't really have time. He didn't really get the full treatment of Ohio State if he was to stay at Ohio State. So I get that, but I will give him credit. He had 2 years of not playing on the field at Ohio State. So I'm saying that's 2 more years of his knees, shoulders, head, shoulders, knees and toes, not damaged due to contact. So he has potentially 2 years of college career now infused into his NFL career. And those 2 years will be used to develop him. And then we'll see what happens. He'll probably make his mark on special teams. But I feel like, look on the bright side of life, he is actually healthier because he didn't have to break his knees at the age of 18 at Ohio State. So that's my positive spin to it. And I think Carolina Panther fans should be excited because he's 6'4", 235. I'm feeling like those intangibles seem like edge rusher potential, and they're gonna put him at inside linebacker. I feel like it's steal. I feel like it's a steal. And that, my friends, is the Carolina Panthers. Player I am most excited about. Well, I was speaking his name very highly, and that's going to be Chris Brazzell II. I am telling you, Carolina, you have a diamond in your rough. You have a star in the making. I look at Chris Brazzell the same way I look at how when Chris Godwin and the Bucks picked him up. You definitely have a potential number 2 already, and could be number 1. Now, Chris, I probably would not say that, but every Justin Jefferson needs a Jordan Addison. Every Chase needs a Higgins. Every Evans needs a Godwin. You know, some of the best offensive players need a good number 2. So to me, do not be surprised if Chris Brazzell had a 45 catch rookie season, 400, maybe even 500 yards, and probably 4 or 5 touchdowns. Do not be surprised if he ends his rookie season with high marks for a potential 3rd, 4th string receiver, and probably next year, he'll be looked at as a number 2 wide receiver behind Nick Miller. Grade I give the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young concerns me more than Baker Mayfield. I can't say contenders, and I know people say, oh, you're just biased because you're a Buccaneers fan. Why don't you suck a ship? I get it. I feel like this team is way better, and I feel like it's going to impact a lot of the players that they got already last year. Some of the rookies they got last year and the year before. But a lot of this still hinders on, like I said to my Panther fans out there, Dave Canales, Bryce Young. Do you feel good for both? Do you feel like one is that? Do you feel like that if things really go south, it'll be kind of like what happened with Raheem Morris in Atlanta, where basically everybody's gone? I don't know. So I'm giving the Carolina Panther fans your thoughts. But to me, they are better. I can say they're contending to win the Super Bowl, but if they win the division again, I will not be surprised. It's just that I will not see them going to the conference championship. Can you give me that? All right. We'll talk later. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Carolina Panthers. We're moving right along, and we're going to go to the team that I feel like is the greatest threat to the NFC South, and that includes the Buccaneers. We're going to go to New Orleans. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Saints are back. And I'm not happy about that. They scare me. They scare me, and they should scare you, Panther, Falcon, Bucs fans. They should scare all of us. Because who wants to hear the Saints go marching in again? I sure as hell don't. But that's another time. But until then, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.